Top headline from the Drudge report for Thursday, May 25, 2017. AP reports fight of the last original Fox. Hannity says liberal fascists after sponsors. One is leaving. Sean Hannity says a media watchdog is guilty of liberal fascism for targeting advertisers on his Fox News Channel show, as one company announced Wednesday that it would no longer hawk its wares there. The Chicago-based Cars.com said that it had been watching closely and recently decided to suspend its backing of Hannity. Hannity, the sole survivor from Fox's once stable and powerful primetime lineup, has been a strong backer of President Donald Trump, and believes the president is under attack from media and opponents who want to destroy him. On Wednesday, Hannity said he would no longer talk about a discredited story involving a murdered Democratic National Committee chairman, after speaking to the man's family, and after Fox had earlier retracted an online story it had written about the case. Uncertainty over whether Hannity would defy his network's bosses over the story led to big ratings on Wednesday. The show reached 2.5 million viewers, or 50% more than it had for the same night a year earlier, the Nielsen company said. On Wednesday, Hannity sent a steady stream of tweets that targeted Media Matters for America, the liberal lobbyists who a day earlier had posted a list of his show's advertisers on its website. Targeting a show's advertisers is a potent line of attack in television. The swift abandonment of Bill O'Reilly's advertisers last month after the revelation of settlements paid to women to quiet harassment charges was widely considered a factor in his firing by Fox. Media Matters is targeting my advertisers to silence my voice, Hannity tweeted. They hope to get me fired. Rush, Limbaugh, O'Reilly, Glenn, Beck, Don, Emerson, Naomi. He posted a series of links to articles about Media Matters funding and ties to figures reviled by many conservatives, like George Soros and Bill Clinton. Media Matters denied that it was mounting a pressure campaign focusing on Hannity's advertisers. The organization's president Angelo Carrison said he hadn't spoken to any sponsors. He said he wanted advertisers to be aware of Hannity's volatility as part of a general Media Matters campaign to get them to think about advertising on Fox. Media Matters hasn't posted a list of sponsors for any other specific show. Yahoo News reports in Montana, cowboy Democrat looks for anti-Trump election win. Can a guitar-strumming cowboy poet strike the first blow at the polls against President Donald Trump? Democrat Rob Quist reckons he can do just that in Thursday's closely watched special congressional election in Montana. Quist croons at campaign rallies and writes poems for supporters. And as a first-time candidate for public office, the 69-year-old is running an unexpectedly tight race against a Republican businessman in Big Sky Country. The lead once enjoyed by Republican contender Greg Gianforte has diminished in polling, so much that it's minuscule. Jeremy Johnson, an associate professor of political science at Carroll College in the state capital Helena, told AFP. It's close to a toss-up. It is the latest example of a congressional race in a traditional Republican stronghold that is far closer than expected, and will be key to determining whether rural voters, who helped send Trump to the White House, are sticking with him. The Guardian reports Republican candidate charged with assault after body-slamming. Guardian reporter audio of Greg Gianforte attacking Ben Jacobs corroborated by Fox News journalists in the room, who described candidate slamming him to the ground. The Republican candidate for Montana's congressional seat has been charged with misdemeanor assault after he is alleged to have slammed a Guardian reporter to the floor on the eve of the state's special election, breaking his glasses and shouting, "Get the hell out of here." Ben Jacobs, a Guardian political reporter, was asking Greg Gianforte, a tech millionaire endorsed by Donald Trump, about the Republican health care plan, when the candidate allegedly body-slammed the reporter. Gallatin County Sheriff Brian Gutkin announced late Wednesday night that Gianforte had been cited for assault and ordered to appear in Justice Court on June the 7th for an alleged attack on reporter Ben Jacobs of the British newspaper The Guardian. The American Mirror reports shock. Dumb rally speaker declares Trump budget designed for ethnic cleansing. A Philadelphia bishop is accusing the President Trump of attempting to implement ethnic cleansing through proposed budget cuts designed to shrink the federal government. This budget, if I can be honest with you, is an attempt to implement ethnic cleansing in this nation from people of color, but also poor white folk from whom service is being but will be impacted the most. Bishop Wayne Royster said at a Wednesday social justice rally broadcast by ABC News. The Boston Globe reports John Kerry to Harvard grads. This is not normal time. Cambridge former U.S. Secretary of State John F. Kerry said he didn't want to get political in his address Wednesday to graduates at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. And then he excoriated President Trump and the nation's political discourse in one of his most political speeches since leaving office. In front of hundreds of graduates and their families, Kerry said that, while acknowledging the celebratory day, he did not want to insult your intelligence by pretending that it's smooth sailing for America and the world. Kerry joked that in the past, the way to get ahead in government was to run for office or attend the Kennedy School, but with this White House I'd say, buy Rosetta Stone and learn Russian. The Boston Globe reports sale lackluster cans, and not just for the extra security cans. France Will Smith and Jessica Chastain were there, as were Oliver Stone, Guillermo del Toro and Roman Polanski. On Tuesday, the Cannes Film Festival gave itself a 70th birthday party, and filled its red carpet with stars and auteurs. The beautiful people smiled, the throngs cheered, and the guards scanned the scene, while the National Police with machine guns stood by a grim image that has become a new symbol of the world's most famous soda cinema. The festival has tried to put on a celebratory good show, with all its customary soigny flair and poise, but an underlying unease has settled in here. The crowds are visibly thinner in the streets bordering the festival headquarters and inside the press screenings. Security had already been intense before news came in about the ghastly attack in Manchester, England. The festival observed a memorial minute of silence Tuesday afternoon, but otherwise proceeded as before. And so did attendees like me, passing through security checks before watching, and, if we were lucky, losing ourselves in movies. The Washington Times reports Obama admin new gang members were part of illegal immigrant surge. Per a whistleblower, the Obama administration knowingly let in at least 16 admitted MS-13 gang members who arrived at the U.S.'s illegal immigrant teenagers in 2014, a top senator said Wednesday, citing internal documents that showed the teens were shipped to juvenile homes throughout the country. Senator Ron Johnson, chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, said a whistleblower turned over Customs and Border Protection documents from 2014 detailing the 16 people who were caught crossing the border. CBP apprehended them, knew they were MS-13 gang members, and they processed and dispersed them into our communities. Mr. Johnson, Wisconsin Republican, said. The gang members were part of the surge of ACT, or unaccompanied alien children, as the government labels them, who overwhelmed the Obama administration in 2014, leaving Homeland Security struggling to staunch the flow from Central America. Officials at the time said the children should be treated as refugees fleeing horrific conditions back home, though security analysts said the children were prime recruiting territory for gangs already in the U.S. The Washington Post reports Trump moves to deport El Salvador is dreading their return. San Salvador. The Trump administration's push to deport more Central American gang members has alarmed officials here who fear the returning gangsters could exacerbate violence in one of the deadliest countries in the hemisphere. This year, the U.S. government has deported 398 gang members to this country, compared with 534 in all of 2016, according to Salvadoran government statistics. This sharp increase in the rate of gang deportations, and the prospect of more gang roundups in the United States, have prompted Salvadoran authorities to hold emergency meetings and propose new legislation to monitor suspected criminals who are being sent home. This clearly affects El Salvador. "We already have a climate of violence in the country that we are combating," said Hector Antonio Rodriguez, the director of the country's immigration agency. "If gang members return, of course this worries us." Reuters reports McConnell don't know how get to 50 votes for Obamacare repeal hopeful on tax overhaul. U.S. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said on Wednesday he does not yet know how Republicans will amass the votes needed to pass legislation now being crafted to dismantle Obamacare, but expressed some optimism on another top priority, overhauling the tax code. In an exclusive interview with Reuters, McConnell said healthcare and taxes still top the Republican legislative agenda, and he added that he will not reach out to the minority Democrats on either one, because differences between the two parties are too stark. McConnell also said he has not asked the White House for input as the Senate devises its own healthcare legislation after the Republican-led House of Representatives passed its version on May the 4th, but may do so in the future. Excluding Democratic involvement will leave McConnell, a conservative 75-year-old Kentuckian with a reputation as a deal-maker, a narrow path to win passage of these ambitious goals, which are also at the head of Republican President Donald Trump's policy agenda. A repeal of Obamacare was one of Trump's leading campaign promises last year. Zero Hedge reports boom. California $1 million home sales all-time high at the end of April. We showed that the California housing market is getting just a little frothy again, when in the span of a few days a simple two-bedroom house sold for 40% above asking. Now, according to a recent analysis by CoreLogic, it appears that this was not a one-off event, because as many Californians struggled to gain a foothold in homeownership early this year, they were hindered as a surging stock market and other forces lifted sales of $1 million plus homes to the highest level ever for a first quarter. In a blog post by CoreLogic's Andrew Lepage, the real estate consultancy reports that the number of California homes that sold for $1 million or more totaled 10,562 during the January through March period, up 11.7% year-over-year, and the highest on record for a first quarter. Luxury home buyers purchased 2,523 homes priced at $2 million or more in the first quarter, up 11.8% year-over-year, and also a record for a first quarter. The LA Times reports the big one is going to happen, no matter how much you want to deny it. California scientists say fear of earthquakes is part of life in California, but people experience this anxiety in different ways. For some, the fear prompts them to take steps to protect themselves, strapping down heavy furniture, securing kitchen cabinets and retrofitting homes and apartments. For others, the fear prompts denial or willful ignorance of the dangers for years until the ground starts shaking. Seismologist Lucy Jones has spent her career trying to understand public attitudes about earthquakes, with a focus on moving people past paralysis and denial. Jones said the way experts like her used to talk about earthquakes wasn't very effective. They tended to focus on the probability of a major earthquake striking in the next 30 years, the length of a typical home mortgage. They also took pains to say what they didn't know, which she now believes allowed the public to tune out and hope for the best. CNN reports drug counselors overdose at addiction facility. 2 counselors at an addiction facility in southeastern Pennsylvania died after overdosing on opioids, according to the Chester County District Attorney. If anybody is wondering how bad the opioid epidemic has become, this case is a frightening example, Chester County District Attorney Tom Hogan said. The staff members in charge of supervising recovering addicts succumbed to their own addiction and died of opioid overdoses. Opioids are a monster that is slowly consuming our population. Authorities haven't released the counselors' names. Infowars.com reports villains in new video game. White Christian right-wing extremists Far Cry 5 will tell the story of a militant Christian cult. If a piece of artwork released today by publisher Ubisoft is any indication, reports gamer site Polygon. A shocking promotional illustration features a group of flannel-wearing bearded rednecks sat around a table in poses similar to that of Jesus' Last Supper. Thank you for your support, and for watching this report by the Red Pill Network. Please subscribe for daily updates and live streams. Please be kind and share. And be sure to live every day, as if it is your last.